Hi everyone, and welcome to the journey of an aquatech startup presented by the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio. So today we have a very interesting panel made up of Wayne Murphy, co-founder of Hatch, Martin Dempsey, co-founder and CEO of Seaweed Solutions, Catherine Butler, development executive in the Development and Innovation Division at BIM, and Alex Farthing, founder and CEO of Alune. And I will be your host, Niall, the Ireland Aqua Community Manager. So we'll just start, we'll go around and get everyone just to do a quick introduction of maybe one or two sentences about their organizations. So we'll start with you, Wayne.
Sure, thanks, Niall, and welcome everybody. Thanks for joining today. I'm one of the co-founders of Hatch, which is a global aquaculture investor. Venture capital company. We look to find and support and develop aquaculture innovation technologists and entrepreneurs around the globe to try and drive the production or more production of sustainable seafood in an environmentally and correct way. So I'm excited to join the panel discussion today to talk about Ireland's role in developing its pipeline of talent in the aquaculture sector.
Brilliant. Thanks, Wayne. And Catherine, over to you.
Morning, everyone. Delighted to be here. Welcome to all our attendees as well. My name is Catherine. I work for Bord Iascaigh Mara, BIM. I am currently in the role of Shellfish Development Executive in the Development and Innovation Unit. BIM, as you probably all know, is the Irish Seafood Development Agency, and we have the remit as a government agency to develop the industry. In the last number of years, we have been working very closely with Hatch, developing and looking at the whole aquatech sector. And we will talk today about all the work that we have done over the last 3 to 4 years and what we have achieved to date. So delighted to be here to talk about the work that we've been doing over the last number of years with Hatch in that whole space.
Thanks, Catherine. And Alex, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. So my name is Alex Farthing. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Alune Aqua, which is a technology fintech company providing mechanisms and solutions to moving capital into the aquaculture industry, particularly the midstream, so at the production level. We're focused on the Indonesian market. I'm also the chief scientific officer and co-founder of a company called Delos, which is a shrimp farm asset management company also based out of Indonesia.
Thanks, Alex. And finally, certainly not least, over to you, Martin.
Thanks, Niall. Hello, everybody. Good to be here. Martin Dempsey, and I'm co-founder of a company called Sealac Limited. Our own background is agriculture, pigs and poultry, and our desire to reduce antibiotic use in our animals led us to looking at different natural products. We focused on seaweed, and we started to develop that. Saw results, and a business spawned out of it. So that's what we're doing now is we're manufacturing products from seaweed to reduce antibiotic use and to produce healthier animals in the agricultural sector.
Brilliant. Thanks, Martin. Okay, so I have a few questions prepared, so I'll go around and ask everyone on the panel, and I would encourage the attendees to put any questions they might have for the panel into the question bar, and we can come to them at the end. So we'll start with you, Wayne. Wayne, do you want to give us an overview of the format and the structure of the Innovation Studio program?
Sure. I think it's very relevant to kind of, from our perspective, in terms of building a program which supports aquaculture specific companies. When Hatch kicked off back in 2017, there weren't any aquaculture specific business support programs that also included, giving some venture capital and some seed support, and collecting and developing and creating a community of experts that could help these young companies kick off was a critical part of our input into developing Hatch globally and driving more innovation in the sector. And what we've basically been able to develop over the last 5 years is a program where we envelope the participants in our programs with experts across the industry, from feed to farming to sensors to entrepreneurs who have been in the space. And I think adding a lot of different sets of eyes to each of the businesses and companies that join our programs is a key part of, you know, what we do in terms of building the structure of each program. So typically, it's a mentor-driven program. The Irish studio this year will be based over a 4-week period, part-time, a Monday, a Tuesday, and a Wednesday each week. It's done that way because a lot of the companies that apply to our program are already very busy, companies with customers and staff to manage. So a full-time program really doesn't work or suit. And typically it's run over 10 days in total over a period of a month, where we bring in a lot of experts that will help kind of support your thinking or challenge your thinking in relation to how your business is doing and the direction it's taking. So this is going to kick off on the 4th of July this year to the end of July. And over that period of time, you're going to engage with a global network of experts across feed, the industry generally, but also those key connectors that can help you, you know, open doors to kind of bring your business to the next stage. So that's typically the structure of the program. This is our now 4th program studio in Ireland. So we're kind of well used to doing it, and we've done it in other parts of the world also. So it's for us, certainly, in terms of feedback from participants, it's a winning formula. The participants find it of great value.
Brilliant. Thanks, Wayne. And Catherine, just to bring you in on that, because this is, of course, the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio hosted by BIM. So what attracted BIM to run this program initially?
Well, what attracted BIM to run this program was because we wanted to, we saw the opportunity to create Ireland as a centre of aquaculture innovation and to provide a space for companies to grow and develop in this aquatech sector. But also, it's also in line with government policy. If you look at the government's Food Vision 2030, Action Point 35 says we have to invest in aquaculture technology, promote Ireland as a knowledge base for technology and research, and attract investment in our knowledge base. So in other words, it's actually our job to run programs like this. You know, that's what we're there to do, and it is government policy. So it's our remit. So that's what attracted us. Now, as a nation, as an industry, and as an agency, we've always embraced technology and innovation. And we've actually been early leaders in Ireland in some of the areas. So take, for example, say the Irish salmon industry. Look at the innovative approach they had of going down the route of organic certification. Another example would be, say, the bottom mussel industry. They looked and saw what was happening in Holland. They embraced that technology, adapted it for the Irish situation, and created a sector here. So we see the opportunity. There's no reason why we can't be an early leader again in this whole aquatech space. As an agency, we have, you know, it's in our DNA to be innovative, but it's also in our remit to be innovative and run these innovative programs.
And just to lead on from that as well, Catherine, so from a BIM perspective, what do you see the aqua industry looking? So obviously everyone thinks of Ireland, they think of salmon, they think of our shellfish and our seaweed. Where do BIM see the future for the aqua industry in Ireland? Okay,
the future is really exciting opportunity, I think, and it's a global opportunity for this aquatech sector. We have, take a look at Ireland. We have the financial sectors. We have companies like Google and PayPal here located in Ireland. What was their attraction? Why are they here? It is the skilled, highly educated, talented workforce. They're all here. That's really important. And we can take, they're all available. That talent, that asset is all available and here in Ireland for the aquatech sector. So the future, I think, and it's possible, there's an opportunity here in Ireland that we could possibly have an aquatech sector worth €1 billion in 5 to 10 years.
And I suppose the opportunity then for that it's not just Ireland, it's the global aquatech space.
No, it's global. It's global. It is a global. And we actually have the opportunity to be a world leader in the aquatech space. Aquaculture at the moment is the fastest growing protein sector in the world. So that is going to lead to a huge increase in demand for aquatech companies to service, deliver, and develop that industry. So think about it, in Ireland, the stars are actually aligned for us.
Yeah.
We have aquaculture, it's the fastest growing protein sector in the world. We have government policy, Food Vision 2030, stating that we have a remit to actually develop an aquatech sector. But most importantly, I think, thirdly, we have that highly educated, skilled workforce in all those sectors. That talent is all available. So it's all lined up, and there's no reason why Ireland couldn't be a world leader in that aquatech space.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I think that's key, just the education workforce we have ready. And I think actually it's probably worth mentioning for anyone, because we're using the term aquatech. Not everyone listening might understand what aquatech means. So when we say aquatech, it's a technology that solves a problem somewhere in the global aquaculture supply chain. So if we're looking at Martin, he's making feed additives for terrestrial farming that's derived from seaweed. And then you have Alex, who's coming from the financial services. So it could be anywhere in that. So as Catherine was saying there, the fact that we can produce this technology in Ireland, there's no reason we can't tap into the global market with this. Brilliant. If I just bring it back a bit more to the Innovation Studio. So Wayne, a lot of people listening here who may be on the fence about applying for the Innovation Studio, they think aquaculture, they think aquatech, they think it may not be that relevant to what they're doing. What would you say to them, and where could they find out more about the Innovation Studio if they're not 100% sure?
Yeah, I think, it goes to a little bit of what Catherine's talking about in terms of that technology talent. I think 50% for us of all the programs that we've run in the last 5 years have been the participants. 50% of them haven't had any aquaculture background at all. So they've been engineers, computer scientists, geneticists, not necessarily with a fully detailed understanding of aquaculture. But those skills and those kind of that experience and background is necessary in our view to kind of drive the innovations to provide solutions to the challenges in global aquaculture. I think certainly what we found in the studios that we've run in Ireland and in other locations, there's an increasing amount of companies sitting outside of aquaculture that have technologies that may be applicable for the sector. They don't really understand the aquaculture marketplace, the competitive landscape. They don't understand the challenges in that. So any companies that does have maybe ag-related, like Martin, for example, ag-related solutions, that may have an application in aquaculture, where we would certainly encourage those type of companies to apply to the program. And again, quite a number of those companies are coming to Hatch to find out more about, aquaculture, the global opportunity, and obviously to meet and connect with the network and industry that maybe can have those kind of conversations to, confirm or validate that, yeah, they've got something here and they have an opportunity. In terms of finding out about it, certainly, Niall, you lead the aquaculture community piece in Ireland, and people should certainly reach out to you. But our website also, there's a questionnaire there for applicants. Our applications for the Irish program closes on the 3rd of June. So a couple of weeks left for people interested in applying for the program. We'd be certainly happy to engage and have a conversation about it. And then we will basically pick the best 8 to 12 companies and participants that we feel we can add value to, and those that maybe we feel that will have a good opportunity to scale further. And obviously, as investors, we're looking for companies that we would be interested in following, supporting, and developing over time.
Brilliant, thanks, Wayne. And I'm actually just going to put my own email address in the chat bar. So if anyone is interested in just following up to find out a bit more, reach out to me, and I'm happy to jump on a call. Just to follow on from that as well, Wayne. So Alex was on the first Irish program, which was an accelerator. Since then, we've switched over to the Innovation Studio model. Do you want to explain a bit about the difference between the two types of programs, and why has the model changed in recent years?
No, it's a very good question, and good to clarify. It really goes back to when Hatch kicked off back in 2017. One of the first doors we tried to kick down looking for money to make this thing happen was BIM, and it was in the context of putting on the world's first aquaculture accelerator. As I said, it was a business-related support program where we not only gave investment, but we also surrounded the companies with the experts necessary to try and scale these companies. And we ran that program in 2018. The Irish aquaculture sector, as Catherine will tell you, is primarily primary production. The aquatech community, or the technology community, really wasn't awake to the opportunity in terms of opportunity in aquaculture, not just in Ireland, but globally. And when we launched the accelerator in Ireland, the actual applications and the feedback from the Irish focused or located companies or projects was very small. And the companies that applied, or the projects that applied, weren't really at the investor ready stage for an accelerator. So in our wisdom, and obviously building that relationship with BIM and that medium to long-term strategy of building a pipeline of talent in Ireland, what we decided to do was, okay, maybe there's not the investor ready stage companies there at that time, and that was 5 years ago, right? Aquaculture's come a long way since. So what we said, we go back further down the value chain in terms of companies and projects and researchers, anything that has promise, and start to engage with them and pull them through in terms of accelerating their development. And this studio model, which is shorter and concise, the accelerator program is 4 months long. The studio is 2 weeks or part-time over a month, is very intense. For companies outside the program who don't need money, they don't need to raise money, they don't want to give away any equity, but they've got really good solutions, they can join, because Hatch is not requiring that they give up any equity, because we're not making any investments at that stage. So it suited those kind of companies that were outside our kind of normal field or sector. And then, of course, some really promising talent, who maybe didn't have the business acumen or the experience to try and, start developing their company, and be able to surround them with the right kind of insights and experience to try and, let their technology see the light of day. And we found since then that studio model has worked incredibly well. We started that model in Ireland. This is now our fourth, the upcoming program would be our fourth program. And we've learned a lot from it. And since then, we've built a significant community of participants and very successful companies that have done great things. And we can talk a little bit about that later. But the studio model was born out of our relationship and engagement and strategic, development with BIM in terms of building that long-term, vision of building a really good, long, healthy pipeline of aquaculture innovation and technology.
Thanks, Wayne. And what I might just do is just one more question for both Wayne and Catherine, and I'm going to move on to Martin and Alex. But Wayne, in the last 4 years of the program, what are the kind of accomplishments of the Innovation Studio that you're most proud of? And maybe Catherine, then what value do BIM see of the Innovation Studio to the aquaculture industry in Ireland?
Currently,
ladies first.
Okay, currently we've estimated what the aquatech sector has approximately about 130 million of an annual turnover in Ireland, right? Across about 36 companies and employing about 350 million, right? 350 people, sorry. The range of companies in this are pharma, genetics, we have fintech, we have AI, we have aquaculture infrastructure, and we've got a lovely ecosystem that has just been built from the accelerator program and these innovation studios. Wayne can quantify, I think as a result, we've had over 36 companies come through the innovation studio and I think there's approximately about 10 million raised by these companies. So that in fact, that speaks for itself. The numbers speak for themselves. And that's only from running those 3 innovation studios. Imagine what we're going to have, down the line. The ecosystem is building, and there's momentum behind the ecosystem and that pipeline of companies.
Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think Catherine, I think you're right. It's been about 37 companies that participated in the BIM HATCH kind of initiative in Ireland, and I think certainly from a state body's perspective, over 160 jobs have been created throughout that, time. It's actually 13.5 million so far has been raised. So, it's proven that, the program itself and the studio and the relationship and the network has enabled some of these very early stage companies to kind of really tap into the right kind of connections and information and knowledge that they need to get through that valley of death, which is the early stage, startup challenge, and surrounding themselves with the right kind of people. And we've been very fortunate to build a really cool, inclusive community ecosystem in Ireland. Now, we had the privilege last year of having our first aquaculture community day, where we invited back participants from the past 3 to 4 years. They met the new guys, and we brought our mentors that support the studio and the initiative. And we had getting everybody in one room, guys, for that day was very special. And it all started with a conversation back in 2017, and we just see that progress. But to Catherine's point, we haven't finished yet. I think the opportunity is still ahead of us. It takes patience, it takes time, it takes, surrounding, as I keep saying, the people with the right networks to kind of open the doors necessary to build scalable, successful, investable business into the future.
And I also think what's been invaluable as well, following the studio, you just don't fall off a cliff and disappear. We are there. You have Niall as the Irish community manager there. The support continues following the 2 weeks. It's not just a 2-week program. Hatch and BIM are there to follow up with you. So that's, I think, is an invaluable part and different, what makes this innovation studio completely different from other studios that are run.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Wayne. And I can see there is questions coming in from the audience. So if anyone has, and we'll get to them at the end, but if anyone has any questions directly for Wayne or Catherine, just put them into the comment bar and we'll loop back to them. So we'll go over to Alex.
Niall, I just think the proof. Sorry, just to add, the proof is in the pudding, right? We can tell you everything about how cool this is and how beneficial it can be. But really, it's people like Martin and Alex that we've had the pleasure of working with over these years, and their opinions matter most. For any of you here who are on the line, kind of considering, is this something for me? I think their opinion holds a lot more value here. So I'm looking forward to them hearing, hopefully, that they thought that the experience was positive for them.
Yeah, and that's a really nice segue. And both Alex and Martin are a really good example of people who've come from different sectors, not from aquaculture, into the aquatech space. So we'll go with you first, Alex. So Alex, to start, where was Alune 4 years ago, and where are you now 4 years after taking part of the program, the first program?
Yeah, so we were a couple of ideas on a piece of paper, and Hatch, I think, especially 4 years ago, and I think real credit to Hatch, because one of the things they've built is a global ecosystem which makes entrepreneurs feel like they have a home in this space. It's kind of daunting when you have an idea that you think is suitable for the aquaculture market, but don't know how to find it a fit. And I think that was very much the case for me. I kind of had a lot of ideas. I felt really passionate about finance as a problem, but couldn't figure out how to make that fit, the product market fit stick. And I was actually sat in the cafe opposite where the accelerator was, and wrote down a picture of a shrimp farm in lots of squares, crossed out 50%, and then drew some mangrove on top. And that I don't think we gave it a name. It was just an idea. That concept about 3 months ago just won like a climate lab fund award. So we now have the support of, I think, the top 13 international banks, including the likes of HSBC, Barclays, etc. So I'm kind of very much from scrap of paper through to seeing these things built. And for me, I can very honestly say that I wouldn't have been able to, or I don't feel that leap would have happened as quickly had we not had the network and support of Hatch and BIM through that process.
That's amazing. Yeah, to get where you are now from something that was wrote on the back of a beer mat or a napkin. It's brilliant. And also I've heard you just facilitated an $8 million raise. So congrats on that. What's the next plans for Alune globally?
Yeah, super, thanks. So so the raise was for Delos, which I'm the co-founder and CSO, Chief Scientific Officer for. Delos was spawned from some technology that Alune had developed, and so Alune is a partner with Delos as well. And then we took that tech and then worked and in kind of what's the word? Just by some of these things happen by luck. We just happen to be working with and be very close to one of the best operators in the market, and it was this kind of fantastic meetings of minds. So we started Delos, and we're on a fantastic trajectory with that technology as well. And so where's Alune, where's Delos, where's it all going, I guess is the question, right? So Alune is still got a lot to do in Indonesia. It's a huge market, huge potential. I suppose from us, we're an Irish company addressing these problems in kind of like on the other side of the world, and it works well. The important thing for us is continuing to establish foundations that we've been building in Indonesia. But really now, probably towards the end of this year, we'll start to accept work from other parts of the world. It's been something we've turned down every year. We've kind of said, no, we'll just focus on Indonesia, keep focusing. I think we're at the point where we want to start to look at addressing either other species or other geographies. And I've been chatting a little bit to Richard Donnelly from BIM more because I think there's huge potential for the financial sector for Ireland, and we can see what we can do with that opportunity. Yeah, I think that's maybe I'll stop there.
No, that's brilliant. Thanks, Alex. And a final question before I jump over to Martin. What effects did having peers in it? So there is a lot of great accelerators and incubators and programs, not only in Ireland, but around the world. But the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio is very unique. It's so specific to the aquatech space. So what effects did having peers in a similar sector all working together over the course of the program have on you?
Ooh, okay. So I suppose maybe take it from two different sides. So there's a working together piece, and then there's also Hatch and kind of what Hatch has built as an infrastructure, support infrastructure. So as a support infrastructure, I guess it's obvious, but sector specific, mentors, access. It's a small industry. Aquaculture is a small industry globally, but it's still very hard to knock on the door of the heads of the companies without a good introduction. And Hatch facilitates that. We had the owners of some of the biggest feed companies come and give us mentoring sessions. So incredible access from a standing start. I think the other side of it is probably I touched a little bit on the ecosystem that's been created. There's cross collaboration in aquaculture, probably more so than in other sectors. And I think when we look at the cohort we were on, and then the previous cohorts and the following cohorts, we're still working with those companies today. If anything, I've got a call next week to start a new partnership with one of the ones that was on my cohort. So there's a case of these things last for a long time, and these relationships and friendships really stick. I guess the other point and the real value, or one of the key value bits for us was it's a lonely journey, kind of from the beginning going through. And so when you're on the program together, you get the camaraderie, but also you get to see everyone's headaches, the stresses. When something goes wrong for someone, you're like, oh, that was me 2 days ago, and that's probably going to be me in a week. So you kind of feel for everyone, and it just forms a really good
misery loves company.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant. No, thanks, Alex. Martin, so over to you. What was life like for Sealac and yourself before joining the Innovation Studio? And just as sorry, I think I mentioned this, but Martin joined the last Innovation Studio, so he's fresh out since October. So yeah, Martin, what was life like before?
Well, we started Sealac in 2016, and it was to go into a sector that we had no experience in. Working with a product that we didn't know anything about was a real leap of faith. So we had never done a startup. I'd never started a company before. And so we were just trying to learn as much as we could, as fast as we could, trying to develop products, trying to research and development on our own animals. So it really was just try to get the business going, you know.
Yeah.
And we had no experience, so it was probably a typical startup, you know. We were kind of just day to day and trying not to make too many mistakes and learn from the mistakes we did make.
And so, as I mentioned, this was specifically tailored from Aquatech, and you came into Aquatech from terrestrial farming. So, was there anything from the program that you learned that you maybe specifically that stands out that you hadn't considered before in relation to that might be beneficial to Sealac?
Oh yeah, like there was just so many things from being on the Innovation Studio. Probably the important one was to get the knowledge and to build a team, to get a proper team of people who can help us and who have experience, because we didn't have any experience. And to be down in the studio where there was just so much experience, every session was just full of knowledge and advice, and the amount of knowledge that I took from it, and different directions you can go in, and just aspects and angles that I'd never even thought about. It was just fantastic, and it really focused me so much on all the different directions we could possibly go, and that I hadn't thought about, you know. So being on the Innovation Studio really changed the way I thought about the business and the direction the business was to go in. It was fascinating.
And it's been quite a short period of time, but have you had a chance to incorporate any of these learnings? Have you made any of these changes yet, or is it still a work in progress to the company?
Well, it's still a work in progress, but we have taken on 2 team people that have come in to give it advice and to help us on the journey. It's just been so interesting trying to implement all of the knowledge that I got down in Kerry on the Innovation Studio.
And Martin, so what made you initially decide to apply for the Innovation Studio? What was the trigger?
Well, when I started out knowing nothing about agriculture, I spent a lot of time on the internet trying to learn, reading articles, reading studies, just trying to educate myself. And on one session when I was looking, I came onto the Hatch site and I started reading that, and I said, this is interesting. It looks like it could be a really good fit for me and for learning and to learn how to grow the business. And I said, I've nothing really to lose here, so I applied, not expecting really to get on, because I didn't really have a lot of knowledge, or I didn't know would I have that much to bring to the party because I was so inexperienced. But thankfully I got the call. So that was really why I applied. It was to gain knowledge, to network, and to try and just see opportunities and find new opportunities to drive on the business. And it was successful, very successful.
Brilliant. And what I love about Sealac, I love the story of Sealac. You know, you started off developing these products for your own, you know, you're a pig farmer, you're a chicken farmer. It was for your own, and it's just grew organically. So, but do you want to tell people a bit more about the mission, Sealac's mission statement, and has this changed at all? Maybe it hasn't, but has it changed since attending the program?
No, not at all. When we started off, we never intended to start up a seaweed business. What we were looking to do was just to find ways to reduce antibiotic use and to produce healthier animals using natural products. So that's what we did. We're on the west coast of Ireland, so we got some seaweed ourselves, and we developed our own low temperature drying process. And we started to dry the seaweed, mill the seaweed, and feed it to our own animals, and wait and see if we could get any kind of a response from them. So it took a while, but we did. We started seeing positive responses from the animals, and after that, then I decided that I'd offer it to other farmers free of charge to see if they could see any possible improvements, that we weren't just imagining things. And once the farmers started coming back to me saying, yeah, we like this, you know, where can we buy this? That was kind of the moment that I knew we have a product here that's response. The animals are responding to. And we just started growth from there. We started so small, like with maybe 5-10 kilos of seaweed. So it was very, very, a very slow process, you know. But we've built it to a level now where we can take in 60 tons of seaweed, of wet seaweed at a time now. So yeah, no, it was trying to solve a problem for ourselves, really. That's what we were doing. And then when we were solving that problem, I wanted to offer it to other farmers to see if we could solve their problem. And the response was positive. And every customer that we have is a repeat customer, you know, so the product does work. Seaweed is a fantastic product. It's a wonderful natural resource, and we're very lucky to have it here in Ireland.
It's what's they say, Martin? Necessity is the mother of all invention.
Yeah, yeah. Well, nature is a powerful thing too, like, you know, and there's a lot of solutions out there in the natural world.
Brilliant, thanks, Martin. So I think it might be fun to bounce the same, because Martin was on the last program, Alex was on the first, so maybe I might bounce the same question off both of you and hear your take on it. So over to you first, Alex. So no, it's a long time ago, so I don't know if you can remember, but can you remember, was there a particular mentoring session that stood out or helped you the most from the program?
Well, I think the mentors, for me, the mentors who have proven that you can go into aquaculture and build a company, I think that those are the most important for me personally. There's a lot to be said about breaking down those kind of barriers of knowing something's possible. And I think the more you engage with them, see the problems they've overcome, and just listen to how they've thought about those problems and solved them, I think for me those are some of the most valuable. The other side, from a more corporate insight piece, would be that we had quite a few of the feed companies and senior figures from them come and talk to us and give us time to ask the questions and review the business models. Two of those sessions in particular stood out, one with Nutrico, where they their job was to kind of rip the idea apart and then help you put it back together again. And I think some of those lessons I still think about today when we think about how we're addressing particularly the downstream of the value chain. So yeah, huge benefit.
Brilliant, thanks, Alex. And Martin, over to you.
Yeah, a couple of the sessions that really would stick in my mind. One would have been a session we had with SOSV. Steve McCann, the venture capitalist, he gave an excellent session on raising money and VCs coming in and all the different angles on that one. I found that one very interesting. And the second one then that really applied to us was a session given by Alex Marsh from Cargill about the different ways and the different routes to market. You know, you don't necessarily have to give up equity. You know, there are other options and there's other distribution agreements and stuff. And I found that was a very influential session for me. So those two were the two standouts. But I mean, you know, like every session was a good session, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose that's like it's worth mentioning. I suppose the Innovation Studio, there is no direct investment from Hatch into this, but you still have access to, you're meeting investors, you know, you're talking to investors, you have a chance for one-to-one with these investors. So there is potential opportunities there as well. So just to give people a bit of a background of the Innovation Studio, the whole program builds up to a finale, which is a pitch session where we work with the projects to develop their pitch, which is it's so important for investors, finding co-founders, etc. So I just want to get both you guys' take on that. How did you both find the pitch session, and did you maybe realize the benefit of having a good pitch prior to joining the Innovation Studio? So I'll go to you first, Alex.
Yeah, did I appreciate the value of a good pitch? I think I knew somewhat the value of a good pitch in that it helps everyone understand what you're trying to do. The thing I'd say is that I pitched a reasonable amount before, not in a good way, and we'll come on to that in a second. Wayne had a sly smile as I started speaking. But the problem with pitching normally is you don't get any feedback. So you will pitch to an audience. Oh, sorry, did I lose you for a second?
No, we have you, Alex. Yeah.
Okay, you go first. You'll pitch to an audience and you won't get feedback. And that is the standard, right? Every time you pitch normally. With Hatch, you get all the feedback you need, and a lot of the feedback that at the time you might not want to hear, but you definitely need. And so kind of there was this, I hate public speaking. I really, really don't enjoy public speaking, and I've had to invest a huge amount of time and energy to overcome it. And Wayne was probably the biggest influence on me being able to string a sentence together with an audience. Literally intensive sessions trying to work through some of those mental blocks that I had with public speaking. So for me, there were kind of personal skills that needed to be developed. And then at the kind of business level, story level for the company, and getting that across succinctly, there was an evolution more from pitches help you focus in on the 3 things that you need to tell people, and all the stuff and then you can drop all the other stuff. And that was hugely useful for us, particularly as we approach the pitch deck.
And thanks, Alex. And Martin, I've an idea what you're going to say here, but same question over to you.
Yeah, like I didn't even have a pitch when I landed down to the innovation studio, like, because 35 years I've been just talking to the animals. So to have a pitch, to stand up in a room of people and talk about your company, I found very, very difficult. Now you, fair play to you, Niall, you helped me out. We got our PowerPoint together, which I didn't have, but it made me learn the value of being able to talk about your company and to be able to explain it. And the value of the pitch, I had no idea how powerful it was. And again, another aspect of Hatch that I was educated in that aspect of it. So very uncomfortable, like Alex, with public speaking, but I had to get over it.
Yeah. No, yeah. And you ended up delivering a brilliant pitch. So yeah, you've nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
So we've got a few minutes left, so I'm just going to open. So we have a few questions that have come in, so I want to save a few minutes just for a few questions. So first question from the audience is to Catherine. So Catherine, you mentioned highly skilled aquatech industry. How do you see the future between the growing aquatech industry and the still low technology intake, especially in the shellfish industry and boat crew? How can this be done better to educate an average shellfish farmer?
Yes, interesting. Yeah. I think it's all about communication. It's all about communication to the shellfish farmer. What is this piece of technology going to do for me? And is it going to make my life simpler? Because I'm not interested if it doesn't make money for me or make my life simpler. So it's all about communication and say, why should I use it? Why should you use it? And I think we'll see a difference in the next few years. We've got a lot of younger people entering the industry as well. The next generation coming along, we're at that stage. They have an appetite for technology. They're not afraid of technology. It's not the big bad technology. So, but I think communication, definitely communication.
Yeah, great answer. And even from the applications this year, from some of the shellfish guys, some of the ideas that are coming up, it's fantastic to see. So I think there's going to be some big changes to the shellfish industry in particular.
Yes.
Over to you, Wayne. So I think we've covered this, is there an investment from Hatch into the applicants in the innovation studio?
Specifically, directly from the outset, no. But an interesting kind of statistic is, since we've been working with BIM on these innovation studios and accelerator, we've invested in one in 4 of the applicants to date, or participants. So there has been a significant amount of investment gone into companies. I think also it's important to note that, as time, some of the companies that we've been developing in the innovation studio are not ready for investment yet. And they need time to develop their idea and validate their technology to get to a stage where they become investable. But it ain't no harm being in our network, and we get a wonderful opportunity to get close to these entrepreneurs or these entrepreneurial ideas and help maybe put some meat on the bones, so to speak, with a view to making them investable, and not just from Hatch, but other investors. I mean, Martin, you mentioned SOS. You know, they invest in aquaculture-related companies and alternative seafood companies. You know, and within our network, there are other types of investors that have maybe specific interest or niche interest in different types of technologies. But I think for us, it's a wonderful opportunity to build a pipeline of potential investment opportunities. I think for companies joining, it gives them an opportunity to meet those investors and for them to start building those very important relationships in terms of, you know, developing a potential opportunity for an investment. Alex will talk to that for sure. And these things do take time. But I think the wonderful thing about the studio, from my perspective, is for us, we get to meet some really cool people with great ideas. We have the wonderful opportunity to hopefully make some of them see light of day and get to hopefully be a live business, driving revenue, making an impact in aquaculture and creating jobs and so forth. But over the course of time, you know, we're interested in finding more scalable solutions in global aquaculture. And if they require investment, we're really happy to help and facilitate that. But, you know, the ideal scenario is that you raise it through revenue and you don't need venture capital. There are quite, I'm pleased to see there are some companies doing that and more. So it's just an opportunity for us to kind of, you know, bring people into a connected network where, you know, there are several different types of financial opportunities and structures that you can, you know, learn about and maybe tap into.
Brilliant, thanks, man. And we're nearly at time, guys, and there's some really good questions coming in. So I'm just going to finish with one more question for both Alex and Martin. So both Alex and Martin have come from not the aquaculture industry. How do you find working in the aquatech space now? Was it a difficult transition after the program, or do you still feel like a fish out of water? No pun intended, I'm sure. We'll go with you first, Alex.
So I guess my original background was aquaculture, so marine biology and aquaculture at university. But then jumped into healthcare, was doing that for 4 years. And even with that classical training, entering into the business sphere of aquaculture felt like a very different challenge and different task to going into being a research position. So as I mentioned, that was one of the huge value adds from the hatch process. I think then after the process, did I feel like a fish out of water? For sure. And I think I always will. I seem to always kind of walk into a new situation and I need to figure out what the hell I need to do. And so it's kind of a case that there's this very steep, constant learning curve as the company grows and as we take on more responsibility and more clients. I think the thing for us is that we're always able to go back to the community that we had. So if there are thoughts or headaches, Wayne has been available kind of when needed to bounce ideas and thoughts off of, as have a lot of the other cohorts members. So I think that helps a lot because that when you leave the process, there's a little bit of and Wayne warned us this would happen. There's a bit of a change of pace, change of energy, things slow down, and you're alone to a degree, and you have to kind of re-spool back everything. And so for sure that does take a bit getting used to. But yeah, there's a good infrastructure afterwards as well.
Brilliant. And Martin, do you want to answer that? And we can finish up with this.
Mm-hmm. Well, the transition into agriculture for us was very, very gradual because we started very small and it was a lot of R&D at the beginning just to figure out what we were doing and if it was going to work. So we didn't need a lot of raw materials at the beginning, so we could get them ourselves. The transition I found, was building relationships within the community, getting to know people in the sector, in the seaweed world. And you know, building up relations with them that they know who you are. So the transition was gradual, but we're getting more and more into it now, and I enjoy the transition. I find it fascinating. I find the whole sector fascinating. So it was so gradual, it wasn't really a problem, I think. I didn't find it difficult to integrate into that sector, you know. So am I a fish out of water? I don't really feel I am. I'm very comfortable with the relationships I built up with people in the sector. And I lean on them for expertise and for knowledge and for advice. And no, I'm very happy with the transition and the way it went.
Brilliant. Thanks, Martin. I think that's a really good note to finish on. So we're going to leave it there. I just want to thank all the panelists and all the guests for attending. It was a really good discussion. I've put the applications, which are now open until the 3rd of June, in the chat bar. So please, it'll take you 5 minutes to register your interest, and it'll schedule a call with myself, and we can discuss your application in more detail then. But yeah, I just want to thank the panelists one more time for your time, and a really good discussion, and hopefully see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Aaron.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Bye.